acting director of communications. That was really, it's a bit of a nondescript really, because what it actually means is that I'm the face of these guys, Richard, George, Pycroft, Nick Harris, Chris Hicks. We're a team, and I'm just the one that catches the flack. So don't worry about the title. You know, I'm there to bat the staff away and to head them up, but they do far more work than I do with regard to actually phrasing. Oh, and I left Wayne out, who's hiding outside. He's an integral member of that team as well, and we're gradually adding to the team as we go along. Anyway, that bit done with. I'm the lady who was making your lives miserable for 2 or 3 months with GDPR back at the beginning of the year, and I wanted to talk to you about that and give you some guidance on it, and also about information management. Right, information is power. We all know that. We've got a media blackout on the party at the moment, and so therefore our way to the rest of the world is social media. So we need to make sure that the information that we get in and the information that we put out is solid and accurate. Every time you post something on social media, you reveal something about yourself to somebody. Be careful what you say. Social media is routinely used by people who are vetting applications for jobs. It's routinely used by the security service for vetting applications against defence clearance and that kind of thing. Make sure that what you're saying is right, is accurate. Don't reveal more about yourself than is necessary. Keep the message rather than using the personal bit. Social media is used by the police when they're doing looking for evidence in crimes and things like that. It's a vastly important means of communication. It's something we all need to use, but we need to use with discretion. Risks versus benefits. Don't post when you're upset or angry, particularly on Twitter. Walk away. Do it tomorrow. Boy, haven't we all done that at the wrong time and said the wrong thing, you know? Even on a personal basis, you know, I can manage to upset my son drastically every now and again, you know? Walk away.
You missed out or drunk.
Oh, that one as well, yeah, that one as well. After a couple of beers, it's not a plan, not a plan. Wait until you're calm. Think about what you're writing and what you're putting out there. Is it going to look ridiculous in a 12 months' time? Will it still be valid in a 12 months' time? That you can't tell. That's a matter of judgment, and the whole thing's a matter of judgment. The big one is, would you be proud of it on the front of the Daily Mail? Always bear in mind that if you don't want it on the Daily Mail, don't write it down. I talked to various areas of government and civil service about this, and they're subject to Freedom of Information Act. And I always say, if you don't want it on the Daily Mail, don't put it in writing. And that implies particularly for social media, because what you put out there is there forever. But we've still got to use it. We just have to use it wisely. So, are you getting your facts wrong? Right. Getting it wrong can land you in court or in the papers for the wrong reasons. So remember, if it's factual, you've got the facts from somewhere else, that's fine, you can verify them. If it's opinion, post it as a question. Are these people the traitors to Brexit? Don't land you in court because you're asking a question. Sorry, say again, I didn't hear you.
There's a mobile phone ringing.
Right. I would say turn them off, except for the fact that I know mine's still switched on, but nobody's going to want me today. Right. So you don't want to end up in court, and you don't want to end up in the papers for the wrong reasons. So check your facts, and if it's opinion, say so. All right? Social media provides an efficient and cheap way to reach millions of people when the BBC say, we're not covering it, or the Mail won't cover it, or the Telegraph refer to us as the hard right. We're not hard right, we're just right.
So you can say, in my opinion, or from my point of view, and that's okay, yes?
If you're saying it's from your point of view or your opinion, then you are not saying that this is fact.
No, and you're not saying it's UKIP's.
Yes, exactly. It comes down to a personal opinion.
Yeah.
None of us is a party spokesperson. None of us speak for, oh, I beg your pardon, there are two in the room. The remainder of us are not party spokespeople. We do not speak for the party. We speak for ourselves.
We may know that, but the press will assume that we are.
Oh, absolutely.
If we're adopted candidates.
Absolutely. This is one of the dangers, which is why we should always use the personal opinion. Because if you've actually said, in my opinion, X, Y, and Z, you know, they can say what they like, but at the end of the day, Margot or Gerard can say, it was a personal opinion, they don't speak for the party, it's not party policy. And you give them the tools to deny something which is off message, not right, somebody wants to attack, you're giving them the opportunity to be able to keep the party on message.
But we're also giving them the problem, if it's Margot, of having to, what looks like, defend or distance themselves from someone who would perhaps better off not saying anything at all.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we stand for freedom of speech, and unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you like it, and we can't deny anyone the right to speak, and I wouldn't want to, but this is why we're here. This is why I say to you, please check your facts, please make sure that what you're saying is on message, please make sure that what you're saying is your opinion and don't imply that you are speaking on behalf of the party.
Can I just bring something up about the facts? Before the referendum, we were throwing around facts about the amount of exports that go to the EU. So many go through Amsterdam and Rotterdam, and
Yep.
11 or 13 or 15 or 17% go round the rest of the world. That's the problem. The message that was coming from head office, from the people who should know, were giving different facts. And so that we were unable to give the right answer. And I'll give you a classic example of John Bickley losing Haywood and Middleton by 617 votes, which is dead easy to remember because it's dambusters, and yet he stood on the conference stage and got the wrong figure multiple times.
Can I say
So
to
we
you,
need facts that are facts.
absolutely. We can't change history. What's past is gone, and we can't change history. What we can do is learn from it and make sure that what we do in the future, we double check. And that's exactly what we need to do. We need to double check. We need to make sure that what we're doing is on message, that we've got it right. Forgive me, do you mind if I take your question at the end? Because I'm kind of losing my track, and I'll be getting slapped for going over time as well. I also wanted to talk to you about security. I'm sure that you all are aware of internet security and not to click on things that you don't know where they came from in forms of attachments and things like that. But I wonder how many of you here are actually using a mobile phone that you still have the default PIN code on. Anybody who hasn't changed the PIN code on their phone? Yeah, I thought there might be a few. Exactly. Well, you know, most people aren't at risk of phone hacking because most people simply aren't interesting enough. But kippers are always of interest to the local media, and it's easy to hack a phone or hack a message service We saw it happen back in 2013, and we saw how widespread it was. Change your PIN number, it's a simple thing to do. And don't change it to your date of birth. Choose your wedding anniversary or something that people won't remember about, right? Do it. Right. We will always be of interest because we pose a threat to the status quo, right? Phone hacking is illegal, but so speeding. And how many of you broke the speed limit on the way here today? I probably did. You wouldn't be the first person to think your phone calls are private. Right, so GDPR. I wish the heck I could get rid of that and then I could actually see what I've written. Right, this is about abuse of access. It's been abused vastly in the past, data protection and whatnot. All sorts of people have had access to all sorts of data, and regrettably GDPR is not going to resolve that situation. You know, but the only thing it might be is that it will be more difficult for corporate data spaces to be bought and sold. But the police will still have access to local authority databases, access to National Health Service databases, access to DVLA that have DNA databases. So it's Big Brother's still watching you. What GDPR is doing and what we've had to do within the party, and I've got a privacy statement here. Now I can't put this up, but I can give it to you all if you want it. At the end of this, I can email you this presentation and you can have it, so that if you want the privacy statement, basically it says we keep your data in order to be able to inform you about the things that you have expressed an interest in. We hold data about you so that you're kept up to date. We will mail you in regard to the interests of which you have selected, and you may change your preferences at any time by emailing this email address or telephoning the party. It's a good idea to have it. Right. When you're sending out email under GDPR, the first thing you need to do is to decide what is your legal justification for sending it. There are 6 legal justifications for sending something out. One is contract. So what's implied in the contract that we have with somebody when they join us? From their point of view, I think the contract is that they support the aims of UKIP, because otherwise they wouldn't be paying money to join, and they would expect the party to keep them updated on the political situation and the state of the party. So there is a lot of communication in which can be made as an implied contract, part of the contract. Right. Then you have consent, which is where people have said, yes please, I want to hear from you about X, Y and Z. You also have a legal obligation in terms of information which has to be kept in order to be given to the Electoral Commission, and in the case of donors where we have to give information to the Inland Revenue. And then there is a legal justification called vital interest. We might think things are a matter of life and death, but I don't really think that the Information Commissioner would agree, and it's one that I pretty much discount as being useful to UKIP. Again, public task, that implies DVLA or the NHS or something like that, where the reason for sending the email is a public good. We might think that UKIP's a public good, but again, I don't think the Information Commissioner will play ball on that one. Legitimate interest is a very useful broad brush, because you can assume that somebody who has applied to join the party has a legitimate interest in the activities of the party. So what I'm suggesting is that you use the consent, the contract, and the legitimate interest most of the time. The only time when I think you would need to use would be the legal requirement, which is for the HMRC and in cases of donors, and anything that your party requests from you in terms of information for the Electoral Commission. I think that sees that through. Data processing is not ringing somebody up. Data processing is not sending an email to a colleague. Data processing is when you assemble a list of people to whom you are going to send the same email. So you'll have an email group and you'll send them out. Your committee members will probably form one of your email groups. However, data processing is promotional and informational. It's not administrative. So you don't have to record calls for meetings, agendas, minutes, that kind of things. It's a newsletter that we put out the other day, if you disseminate that. If you're having a local rally and you're sending that out, if you've got a local newsletter, you're sending that out, right? Those are the things that are data processing when you're sending them to a block of people. Now ask me questions if you want to, because I know this one's an awkward one. Yep, go on.
It's more of a comment, really. Most of us would know that there's a thing called BCC when you send out an email. I experienced, not through UKIP but through my business, a situation where I used BCC on Gmail and was immediately pulled up by one of my clients because it read, when they got their email, it read all the other email addresses. So I don't quite understand why that is, and I haven't had a chance yet to go back to Gmail.
Because when they went through it, they did reply all.
No, they didn't reply at all. It was a new email that I'd sent out.
No, but if you've got BCC on it, right, if you've got some people BCC on it, when you click reply all, right, it will reveal the email addresses to whom they would be replying.
But that's not what I'm thinking about. What I'm thinking about is nobody replied to me at all.
No, they didn't have to. All they had to do was to click on reply all so that they were going to reply, and then they could see all the email addresses, and then they can discard it.
And why would they do that? Because they're not interested in the other clients. They would have had to have seen that there were other clients there to put reply.
Might have been done in error, might have been just
BCC
curiosity.
is supposed to be to block it. And my point here is to be careful.
Absolutely.
Because I experienced that, and if it had been a UKIP email,
Yeah.
I could have been in serious trouble.
Yeah. Which is why we use MailChimp largely, and I do have, and I'm trying to get it tested a bit better, a document on how to use MailChimp, and as soon as I'm happy with it, I'll put it out to all and sundry, and you can have it if you want to use it. It'll be an idiot guide. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm responsible for sending out block emails on behalf of Margot Parker about various activities, press
Yes.
releases, etc. I only send them out to people I have specifically had an email from asking to receive this. Are you saying I can or I cannot expand that to other members in the East Midlands of UKIP?
I think you have to take a view on that as to whether or not the question, the subject is of legitimate interest to the remainder of the people. If you take the view that you asked questions here today and other people will have had the same question in mind and will appreciate the answer, and so I think that's a matter of taking a view on, is this something which concerns a whole heap of people? If it does, put it out under legitimate interest. If it's something that is of importance to the party or about the party, then put it out under implications, under contract, as it were. Look for the legal justification amongst the three top ones.
So would you advise me to put a disclaimer underneath? This is from Margot Parker under legitimate interest.
I would recommend that all of you, when you're sending out these emails, put on the bottom of the email, you are receiving this email because. we believe you have a legitimate interest. We believe this is part of our contractual agreement with you under your membership, or this is a legal requirement for the Electoral Commission, or whatever it might happen to be. If you put that statement underneath, then you will discourage people from complaining. You know, and I don't think the people who are going to complain are going to be the people who are going to be a nuisance in any case. You know, most of us don't want to grumble about things, or do we? I don't know.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, sorry. No, gentlemen.
Do we have to record that we're sending out block emails to?
I'll explain that to you in just a second. That's next on my list. Yep.
Mine's just a very, all these 6 justifications, can you put that into writing or something?
You can have this.
Oh, it's all going to be on there.
Yeah,
Perfect,
yeah,
thank
you can have it all.
Right at the beginning of your presentation, you used a phrase, UKIP is under a media blackout. Was that just a throwaway phrase, or is there some situation where we have?
I find it very difficult to believe that it's a coincidence that none of the television programmes, none of the, with the exception of RT, and none of the newspapers seem to want to report on anything that we do. About recording, right? Recording. You need to record what you send out in terms of data processing. Not interested in receiving records of your minutes, meetings, admin stuff. That's not of interest. Record what you send out. The day you send it out, the legal justification and the subject matter of the mail, and the group of people to whom you have sent it, i.e. those contracting, all members, those consenting, that kind of thing. I don't need to know every single person that you sent it to. Right, so just do it to the group. Just log on there, the group, and there are forms out there. And if you haven't got them, email me and I'll get them sent to you. There are forms out there for recording, and they go to your regional chair or regional officer each month. Where a breach occurs, i.e. if somebody gets hold of you and says, you know, broken data protection, then we have to self-report. So you need to report that to your regional officer or regional chair within 48 hours. The regional chair will then get hold of me or Seb, and we will then report to the ICO saying, we're screwed up, this is how we propose to prevent it happening again. So that's where you're going on that. And we have to report within 72 hours to the ICO. Now, you may also get requests for a reveal, in which case you need to refer those back to branch@ukip.org. Ruth Purdy will deal with it. So if somebody asks, and they have a legitimate right to ask what data we hold on them, then that's not as simple as it sounds, because it doesn't just mean we tell them that we hold their name, address, date of birth, and whatever bits and pieces. We also have to scrape our system and give them copies of any email references that there are to them on the system as well. I know someone who's done that recently and ended up with 800 pages of documentation. That's a scary thought. Please don't ask. Please don't ask. Some of that data will be valid. And there is no reason why you shouldn't have it and use it, because the people that you are talking about will have consented to receive. The way you can confirm that is by getting hold of Ruth Purdy and saying, please can you give me an update on the database for this area, that area, this region, that region. The databases have been completely updated. with all of the information which has come in, and it's ongoing because when people renew, you know, they're asked the questions.
Okay, so I'll give an example. So I have I don't have, I think I have a branch lease from November 2017.
Sorry?
Am I legally allowed to still have that on my computer?
Check it against the head office list that you get, because the chances are that all of the people on the list are compliant. If they're not, send them an administrative email saying, please update your details with the branch. And the other thing you might get asked to do in extreme events is to actually delete data. That again, you need to refer back to head office and tell them that this person has requested to delete data. It basically means somebody's gone off in a huff, they've flounced off somewhere or another, and they want them to delete a data. There is also a third provision, which I think is highly unlikely to occur, is that there is a provision for portability, which means that I could actually write to head office and say, I'm leaving, I want to take all the data that you hold on me to the Conservative Party. I don't see that happening. I tell you what, I'll eat my hat if it doesn't. Don't you dare any one of you try. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's pretty much the end of that one. Like I say, catch me later if you've got individual questions. Just one other thing, we will be running a help desk at conference. This is not the end of the help that you'll get. It will be available there as well. So please do come and shout if we've missed anything out. And today's a pilot. You know, you're the guinea pigs. Let us know where you want improvement and where I've fallen down, and we'll do our best to get it right. Thank you.